The Rugezi Marsh is a 20-kilometre-long stretch of wetlands in northern Rwanda. Francis Musake is a leading conservationist in the region.
This swamp, first of all, helps to filter the water. That is very key to biodiversity. But at the same time, the swamp harbors these different birds, as you can see. But another aspect is that this swamp feeds other lakes on the other side. But remember also the swamp feeds into Ntaruka Hydro Power Station. So those are very key aspects as to why this swamp has to be protected.
The wetlands are home to many birds, including the grey-crested crane, an endangered species, and the ibis. The areas where the birds nest, raise their young and search for food are under threat.
Another aspect is the soil erosion, because the swamp is kind of in the valley, and so once it rains during the rainy season, because most of the hills around are not well protected with trees, so the soil comes into the swamp.
Francis Musaki meets regularly with local farmers, but there are no simple solutions. People here know that damaging the environment will also destroy their livelihoods.
20 years ago, there were tall trees and lots of forests here. The people cut down a lot of trees. Now they're all in need of firewood. The population keeps growing. There aren't many animals here anymore.
Without trees, the soil erodes. It's a huge problem across Rwanda. In this region, the silt endangers the marsh and lakes. One approach is reforestation. Planting new trees could halt the erosion and be useful in other ways. The hazelnut shrubs, for example, can be used in raised bed gardening. The branches serve as fodder, so the cows no longer need grass from the marsh.
Initially, they thought trees were not good for the gardens. They thought trees they were competing with their crops. But with time, with the sensitization and education, they have now learned that trees can coexist with the gardens and with their crops.
The International Union for the Conservation of Nature maintains 5 nurseries where they grow seedlings, including fast-growing eucalyptus. The work provides jobs, and it's already produced 400,000 young plants. Some of the trees will be allowed to grow to stabilize the soil. Others will be used for firewood. The seedlings need to be watered twice a day. It will take years for them to grow big and strong. The nearby tea plantation also needs watering twice a day. Normally the plants don't require irrigation, but for the past 6 months there's been no rain. The tea factory is the region's largest employer, and it illustrates the dilemma faced by the people here. Tea production uses lots of electricity, water and firewood. The tea leaves are dried using hot steam. 350 kilograms of tea consume a cubic metre of firewood. The factory manager has now installed new, more efficient ovens.
So we cut down the use of firewood by 47%. We're working with the forestry and the team there to try and look at better yielding varieties of blue gum trees that will use less land and be able to provide us with the required firewood.
The region needs reforestation to help maintain the local water cycle. Hydroelectric power is playing a growing role in Rwanda. 40% of the country's power comes from water. So hydropower is also suffering from the lack of rainfall.
The water level is lower than it used to be. So operating the power plant has become more difficult. The marsh is a very vulnerable system, but we badly need the water to generate electricity.
The torrents that flow from the wetlands have become weaker. All the more reason to protect the marsh and the species that are at home in it. People here are determined to do what they can to save it from destruction.
It is my wish that this continues to exist because it is very important to this area. It regulates, for instance, the climate around. It gives the water to the hydroelectric power, and we need water for economic development and all that. So in my point of view, I would like to see, be it the lakes, be it the water, be it the ecosystem around maintained and for our future generations.